on decision making about such properties. In the state, the landowner has ultimate right. You can get evicted at the pleasure of the landowner. So it makes for a tenuous situation. Not only that, we all know that investment in homes is one of the sort of retirement or investment facility that we have in the US. So you have here a situation where people are not really banking equity on their property. So, because somebody else owns the land. And I'll get a little bit into, what the state law allows in a minute. In Gaylord, you have 30 lots that are in this situation, of dual ownership. Altogether, home for 22, a little bit over 22 families. Early in 2000, a young man named Ned Moore, who is the organizing director for an organization that is advocating to change the state law about mobile home ownerships in this situation. Acronym for that organization is APAC. Has been advocating to change that state law that affects specifically mobile home ownership and split ownership. What attracts many of these new immigrants to Gaylord is Michael Foods. I believe is the the third largest egg processing industry in the United States. So we eat a lot of eggs, so that gives you a pretty good idea about how powerful and how big they are. I'm not sure about their current position, with all the realignment in businesses taking over each other, but somewhere between the third and the fifth, obviously, because it's still a huge employer in the area. And by the way, a general in this company earns about $45,000 a year. That's entry level. The least pay, yearly pay, annual pay for a general, which is the least in the company, is pretty decent. And they pay that way because, again, many of us that are younger don't want to live in small towns. So to attract new workers, they have to raise the pay. Now, in Gaylord, as I established already, many of the community are single-family homes, very limited rental opportunities, and then you have this need for employees, specifically for Michael Foods. Interestingly, the two places that you find these new immigrants in the town is across the railroad in downtown. This is the downtown area, and that's the rail track in downtown, and also this lakefront property. Still very interesting to me how mobile homes that are not necessarily in the best of shapes occupy such a prominent site, because all along the lake are very expensive homes. I guess local politics. So a little bit, a better color of the location. So that's the downtown area, and that's Lake Titlow, by the way, if anybody's from that environment. Okay. And as you can see, the yellow are single-family residences. So, like many small towns, you have family homes. The red are commercial, warehouses and things like that. So between those two, we pretty much have consumed about 90% of property in the town. Another area view of the community. So the two sites I'm talking about is over here and about right there, where the mobile homes are. And sort of to give you a sense of the mobile homes and what the place look like. The option downtown are older buildings that has been converted into housing because again, there's so limited rental opportunities. So you do have, these older downtown brick buildings that has, been converted into residences. So as you have that situation, a problem that has arisen in Gaylord and these other smaller cities are their relationship with the law enforcement people. In Gaylord, an overwhelming percentage of tickets, traffic violations are issued. Almost 50% are issued to that many few people that is in Gaylord. So you have that friction on when you have a group of people residing in only a designated part of town. When people are not integrated into the community, it creates a lot of social challenges. And that informs my tarot colored spaces. So up to 2008, out of 372 citations given to Latino population, it represents about 51%. Okay, and that's huge compared to their population. So what does APAC try to do? And some of you that are also looking for volunteer situations, this is a great organization to volunteer to. Essentially, like I said, they advocate for the rights of these tenants that live in home parks. With the landowner having a right to control activity on those properties, you have questions of, how long the places can be open. Some of them have curfews, believe it or not, in the United States. That you have to come in by 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, etc., or you're locked out. Okay. Issues about maintenance of the property. Okay. When issues of water, storm, sewage, etc., goes wrong, the landowners should be responsible, but they're not responsive in fixing those things, and you have very not well maintained situation. The city tries to lower the density of many of these places to keep these families away. Okay. Some of these families are large, but many of these towns, some of them don't particularly want these new immigrants in their community. So a way to get rid of them or to reduce how many of them come to their town is to keep the number of people that can be in any housing situation low. So essentially splitting families, and those are part of the issues that Hillhat is trying to do something about. Because parks are under the Department of Human Services, so which is under the state, cities cannot particularly control inspection or licensing of those properties. Okay. And it is a crazy arrangement where the city doesn't have enforcement rights on those properties. They have to wait on the state to license and inspect those places. And if the city desires to close the park or rebuild it outside, the city, they have to go through the state, and you have, those kind of challenges. Again, when you have such a deteriorated situation, and the health department of the city wants to correct it, then you have the city and the state battling tough, and the residents suffer. Another organization that is also advocating for this right is Central Campesino, okay, but the bigger organization is APAC. Now, why do these new immigrants live in trailer parks simply is more affordable, right? But there's also a false sense of acquiring equity, which, again, as I mentioned, land being owned by somebody else, that's really a false sense, because mobile homes do not traditionally, the equity doesn't go up. If anything, it goes down. So it is unlike residential, single family situation. So the question of access to home ownership is something that many of these organizations are working with the immigrant groups to educate them about, that find themselves in these mobile home parks. And then also issues about segregation. Many of these small towns essentially met their first person of color or somebody different fairly recently. They've been pretty much a homogeneous community, and you have issues of integration is a challenge. Okay, so questions of segregation is perpetuating, where these new immigrants reside in these communities. A little bit about the governance of mobile home parks. The state statute 327C that governs its licensing and inspection through the health department. We have over 900 of them in 87 counties spread out throughout the whole state. There's a few of them here in St. Cloud also. There's well over 180,000 people living in these mobile home parks, usually of the lower income level. Mobile home parks also traditionally has been used as a way to get people into affordable housing situation, and comprises about 15% of households in the state. So it's a pretty good chunk of people that use those mobile home parks as home, their primary home. And a high percentage of them, 87%, are owner-occupied, essentially that the occupants are the owners. Okay. So there's that issue about acquiring equity of being a home owner. And 42% of the occupants have lived in those mobile homes for a very long time. So they've really missed out on home ownership and equity, building equity. So as I mentioned, is the leading source of independent housing for Latino workers. They are not particularly migrant anymore. They are now permanent, but in the system we classify them as migrant. Many are settling down throughout Minnesota, and overwhelmingly make up the residences in these mobile home parks. Again, vulnerability in terms of land being owned by somebody else, so you have that issue. So they are considered temporary residents, can be kicked out anytime. Very few, just about 1,000 of 55,000 parks in the U.S. Very, very few of those mobile home parks are actually owned by cooperatives, basically the owners or the residents. So, that's a tiny percentage throughout the whole country. So you have this situation spread out all across the United States, where land is owned by somebody else and the mobile home is owned by somebody else. Now, in terms of the state law, should a park or the owner desires to close